Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right?
Oh!
The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
and we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
AFC got no fight. AFC, all these teams bite. AFC, Zach Wilson's a fright. Yo, Sterling Holmes and I were just singing good old 80s metal songs, hard rock songs. I couldn't resist an opener that made fun of the rest of the AFC. Folks, my name is Matt Conner. I'm here with Sterling Holmes. Sterling's going to high five that one because if you bring up anything that allows hair to be teased and sprayed permanently in place, that's going to ring his bell. We're here talking all kinds of Chiefs stuff here on the latest Arrowhead Addict podcast. Look at how much the Chiefs won on a bye week and looking forward to the second half and much more. But first, my friend, my man, Sterling, how are you?
I'm really good, man, because we're going to talk about the lack of communication, obviously, as the Bills fired OC Ken Dorsey. It feels like we've been going round and round all offseason talking about who is going to be the team that takes Kansas City from the top spot down. I'd probably say there's a whole bunch of way cool juniors, if you will, on this Chiefs defense, as they are actually based on snap count share, the youngest defense in the NFL, right? Matt, I would love to see your body talk. I don't want to see any slip of the lip. And I don't know how I'm going to swing and Levin use a dirty job, but I'm excited because the Chiefs are number one and Rats number one. That's a great start to the show here.
Dude, yeah. Everyone out there who's under like 40 is going, what are they talking about, man? What are they talking about? We're talking about Rat. We're talking about RATT. If you've never heard them, you need to, wait till we're done, but then go and listen. So much going on, so much to reflect on. It was already nice enough to like go into the bye with a big win over the Miami Dolphins in Germany, got that out of the way. Now we've had a full week off. Justin Reed is hanging out on the beach. Travis Kelce's touring the world like Jules Verne style. I don't know, whatever he's doing. How did you spend the bye week, by the way?
Golfing, hanging out, working, doing some analysis, if you will, of why the Chiefs are number one. Going into that week thinking, wow, we got a bad week of football. No Chiefs, no Eagles, no Dolphins. And I believe it was 6 games that were decided by a walk-off field goal, which is absolutely absurd.
Bananas.
And again, as you mentioned, everything, and I mean everything, fell the Chiefs' way.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We don't need to like break it all down. I think people know a lot of the results, but let me ask you this. What was your biggest surprise loss in that bunch that made you go, oh my gosh, this is not just a good week for the Chiefs, but like seriously laughably good?
Yeah, man, I'd probably say Bills losing to Denver, right? And the reason being, the Bills have been an interesting conundrum all season long where the Bills have actually had some really good underlying offensive numbers, right? They're top 3, top 5 in so many different analytical offensive metrics. What the issue comes down to turnovers. They've actually been very successful in the red zone as well, not settling for touchdowns, 3rd in that metric. And then, as I mentioned at the start as a joke, but yeah, Ken Dorsey's gone. He was fired. And I'm sitting here going, how is this Ken Dorsey's fault? You look at a top 3, top 5 offense. He's not the dude who puts butter on the ball and hands the ball off. Freaking James Cook. He's not the dude that for some reason James Cook drops acid and just decides to try and play quarterback. Like, The offense has been fine. It's the turnovers that have not been. It was best case scenario where they fall to 5-5, and they have maybe the most difficult schedule left in the NFL. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, go down the Bills' schedule. It is absolutely brutal.
It's crazy.
And so I'm sitting here going, that was their easy game. They play the Jets, I get all that stuff, but that was their easy game. That was their get right game, if you will. And their get right game ended with the OC getting canned. Not ideal.
I agree. That was a big surprise for me. I wrote I wrote a story earlier this week during the bye about how I thought I think the Broncos are going to be pesky all season.
Mhm.
And I know they only won that game because of the number of turnovers. Of course, anyone's going to win if you hand them 4 turnovers. But
And a penalty and a shanked field goal that turned into a 12-minute on the field. By the way, imagine being the 12th guy in the field if the Bills don't make the playoffs.
oh man, yeah. I mean that's one of those like D Ford offsides kind of things, or well, I shouldn't say that. Kicker who's yelling?
Don't you dare.
I almost did it. I almost said that. Anyway, yeah, that was big. I think the Broncos though are just going to be that like pesky team that either loses close or surprises a couple more times. And that said, the big surprise for me was the Bengals. I mean, the calf injury to Joe Burrow that set him aside and really kind of derailed the franchise early in the season, that gave them some of their losses. They were looking unstoppable after that in the last few weeks. And, look, like we can't avoid their history with the Chiefs. They've really taken care of the Chiefs a few times in the last 4 meetings. And so, when they were on, I just thought, man, I'm not scared of the Ravens. I'm not scared of, they took on the Dolphins already. They took care of that. Jaguars took care of that. I know everyone loves the Texans right now, and they're this darling pick. But if we're facing them in the playoffs, or even like, I'm not remotely worried about that. I mean, I think they're a nice franchise going places, and when you get QB right, you've answered the biggest question. So they're going places, and it's hard not to love D'Amico Ryans too as a head coach. Let's be honest there. But
Can we talk about Texans just very quickly?
I'm happy to talk about Texans, but I'll just finish up by saying it was the Bengals that had me the most concerned. If I'm going to be concerned about a team, which honestly we really shouldn't be concerned about any teams. And so seeing them lose, I just thought, oh my gosh, the quicksand of the AFC North is going to sink at least one team and maybe more teams, who would be deserving in another division. But yeah, you like the Texans, huh?
Yeah, I bleep and love the Texans. I liked him coming into this season. That was my bold prediction. I said they're going to be pretty good. I actually had him just on the outside of making the playoffs, but now I'm sitting here going, maybe I should have been even bolder. Who would have thought that?
Crazy.
By the way, if the season were to end today, November 14th, 3 teams from the AFC North would be making the playoffs. That 4th team, the team that is not, the Cincinnati Bengals, as the Browns are 6-3, which is crazy. The Steelers are 6-3 with a minus 28 point differential. I mean, they've been horrendous. I don't get it. It's Mike Tomlin voodoo magic because it makes 0 sense. And then the Ravens, who I actually think you're giving not enough credit to, they choked that 4th quarter away, but they've been so good ever since the offense started humming. And by the way, the offense was humming for the majority of that game. I think the Ravens right now are still the biggest test to the Chiefs in the AFC, and I get the whole playoff stuff. I understand that. I'm just saying what we've seen this year, not in the past, but this year, the Ravens, to me, are the biggest test for the Kansas City Chiefs because their defense of the Ravens have been so good before they, again, got just trashed late in that game. But the AFC North is always so close. But the Texans, the reason why I was high on them is because I said C.J. Stroud is the best quarterback coming out of that draft. He's been the best quarterback to come out of that draft. His numbers are eye-popping. Yeah. He's the most yards per game for a quarterback, not rookies, of any quarterback. Yeah. Most yards per game. He averages over 1 yard per attempt more than Patrick Mahomes this season. 8.3 to 7.3. CJ Stroud's numbers are absurd. 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Yeah. And he's not checking the ball down. He's heaving the ball.
Yeah.
Like, it's not checked down. It's not Derek Carr. He's throwing the ball deep, as again, evidence about the yards per attempt being larger than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Two interceptions, and one came against the Bengals late. I go, okay, great story. Rookie mistake. You can't throw that ball in that situation. He did. It's fine. It's a learning move. He learned by driving down the field and setting the Texans up to hit the game winner. I mean, I can't get over again. I don't think that the Texans are this contender, but my point here is he's been very good. He's going to win Rookie of the Year. Quite frankly, I think he should be the MVP award voting. I mean, his receivers are Nico Collins,
Right.
third rounder, Tank Dell,
Dell.
rookie third rounder, the corpse of Robert Woods, Noah Brown, who I don't think anyone's heard of, and then Dalton Schultz.
Right. You got a John Michie in there somewhere, whatever's going on.
I got to give the dude so much credit. I mean, it's a Chiefs show, but I'm giving so much credit to CJ Stroud because it is looking a little bit like what Mahomes did when he first took over as quarterback, right? You're like, you shouldn't be doing this young. And that's what we're seeing with CJ Stroud.
Well, folks, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Texans Addict with your host, Sterling Holmes and Matt Conner. No, I get it. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I like where they're at. I like where the AFC South is at. I mean, if you're looking at it, the Colts are a decent team, and they got their guy in Anthony Richardson. I feel like I saw enough to like where they could go with him. The Jags are 7-3. They're right in the thick of it with Trevor Lawrence and a nice group of young playmakers. I like the Texans.
They're frauds.
All right, well, they're 7-3 frauds. They're tied with the Ravens frauds.
They're not 7-3, are they?
Yes.
They lost. They got hammered 34-3 by the 49ers.
Okay, well,
they're frauds, dude.
Well, every team has a loss that you would say makes them frauds. I'm sorry, they're 6-3. They're 6-3. They're number 3 in the postseason.
Dude, their offensive ranks are horrendous. Can we have a conversation about why everyone thinks Trevor Lawrence, the prince who was promised, is just an average quarterback? I mean, look at his numbers. 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He averages like 215 yards per game. With Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne, and a Super Bowl winning head coach. Dak Prescott is kicking his ass this year. Like, if Dak Prescott is that much better than you, come on, we gotta have a talk. Slow the hype train down. I get it; it's fun.
Are you building Pro Bowl rosters? Like you're just adding up yardage and touchdown totals?
But this year, not for the future. If you're taking a 1-year sample size, 1 year, not future, because obviously the age differential. And I get it. Trevor Lawrence is going to have a better career, most likely, than Dak Prescott. Trevor Lawrence, right now, to me, is not as good as Dak. He's a good quarterback. Maybe top 15, maybe top 10. I mean, look at Trevor Lawrence this year. He has been the most underperforming quarterback in the entire NFL, and somehow every single week he gets a pass. It's because the Jags defense has been electric. They're going back to the Blake Bortles days. It's absurd right now, but somehow Trevor Lawrence gets a pass because he was drafted 1-1 and was great in college, and because he had a great comeback second half against the Chargers, who always choke in the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence is fine. He's fine.
All right. Well, I don't know what to say to that. I like Lawrence. I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I think he's young and good. I'd be happy to have him as a franchise. I think 20 other teams or even more would be happy to trade for him.
You said 20 teams. 20 teams.
You said he's worse than Dak, and I'm like,
this year.
Sure, because Dak is also a top 10. I mean, you're like, oh, he's worse than Patrick Mahomes. Like, sure, keep bringing up every good quarterback in the game. I'm just going to nod my head. He's in that group. You either have the guy or you don't. All I said was I like the AFC South because the team is 6-3. The Texans are looking good. I like where the Colts are at. There's only one team that's really not going anywhere, and that's the Tennessee Titans, who I think are probably the best overlooked coach in the NFL, which is Mike Vrabel. They're always competitive no matter what they do because their GM is a sad sack who wants to reinvent every 35-year-old and see if there's anything in that grab bag known as Julio Jones or Derrick Henry or whatever else he's bringing in there. All I'm saying is I like the South. And then you attacked me. Like I said, I like the Confederacy South and Robert E. Lee, and you want to burn my statues down. Anyway, look, we're, I thought we were on a good vibe because we were talking 80s hair bands and singing along together before the show. And then we start the show, and you go in attack dog mode.
Well, I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at Trevor Lawrence.
Who are you yelling at? I'm the only other one here. I'm the only other one here. Trevor's not here. Trevor's not here.
I see him. I'm Sam Darnold. I see long hair. I am startled. I am confused. I will also say, if the season were to end right now, guess who's ahead of the Bills in the playoff rankings? Well, besides,
the Jaguars.
I was going to say the Colts.
Okay.
The Colts at 5-5 actually hold the tiebreaker right now over the
Yeah.
Eagles.
Yeah. I like him. I kind of, I'm kind of bullish on Chris Ballard where others are on him. Anyway, what's going on here?
Angry drunken German says Connor's feeling himself today dressing down Holmes. He wishes he was dressing me down.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, that's to like a Belle Biv DeVoe song, right? It needs to be some sort of like slow jam. Yeah. Anyway, look, everything went well for the Chiefs. You got to like it. But let's be honest. I mean, the Chiefs didn't play. They get a half month off, but they're coming right out of the bye. They're running like right into a brick wall known as the Philadelphia Eagles. The last time they played I think it's a truly historic game. I think when all is said and done, look, that first Super Bowl for Mahomes, fine and good. I loved the constant comebacks. That was great. But the Super Bowl against the Eagles was entertaining front to back. It was full of superstars, like the back and forth scoring. It was thrilling. It was a truly thrilling contest from beginning to end. And I'm looking at that Eagles team thinking they may be far more talented than they were a year ago. Not just like a little bit, but Jalen Carter's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And he just slipped into that line alongside others. What are you making of the Eagles now as the Chiefs' next opponent?
What's interesting is I think they're more talented. I think you're actually right in that estimation, but they've not played as good as they were last year. Now, the offense is starting to get going, right? Jalen Hurts struggled early on. The turnovers for him were an issue, but now he's figured it out. He's found A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, obviously Dallas Goedert being injured with that gruesome little forearm injury. It's a loss for the Eagles, but their offensive line is still very, very good. Their defense has been the biggest surprise. Like last year, they were setting all these records. Defensively, they were outstanding. This year, they haven't been. They've been a really big disappointment. A lot of the analytical numbers, they're mid-range, they're average, which is a little interesting because a lot of the same guys are on this team. Now, they lost a lot of their maybe more underrated players, right? Some of those secondary members, some linebackers, just guys that kind of flew under the radar. Not the big-name guys, but the glue guys, the next level down. And they've taken a step back. Their secondary has actually been, quite frankly, bad this year. I don't want to say atrocious because that's a hyperbole right there, but they've been bad this year. I mean, I think if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, what I find interesting is this might be a bad matchup for Kansas City because they're one team that can't take advantage of the Eagles' weakness. Like the Eagles' fatal flaw this year has been their secondary, and the Chiefs' fatal flaw has been their wide receivers. Like both teams in every other spot is loaded. They're great. They're electric. But then they're going to have a battle of deficiency versus deficiency. And for me, it comes out who takes advantage of that. Do the Chiefs wide receivers finally get separation? Do they get open? Do they make catches? Do they burn the Eagles secondary? Or do the Eagles secondary, who does have talent but has underperformed, do they step up to the challenge? That, to me, is the battle of this game.
Interesting. The Chiefs aren't really challenging teams over the top much at all, which has been really frustrating because you wonder what happened to MBS, by the way. I mean, at the very least, he was able to sometimes, get open wide like that down the field. I don't know. You and I have picked apart the second or the wide receivers for a while now. Who knows else what to say about it, except that's what we said. But I'm afraid of the Eagles here. I think it's the biggest test remaining other than the Bengals. The rest of the Chiefs schedule to me looks soft as hell. And I know people are like, oh, they get less rest but I'm just not concerned about the Raiders. I'm not concerned about the Chargers. Like some of these teams that remain, I'm just not, the Buffalo certainly doesn't look anything like what that should be.
I still think Buffalo's talented for what it's worth. I still think they're a dangerous team. I know the record's not great, and quite frankly, they might miss the playoffs. But I will just say, I still think it's a dangerous team because you never know when Josh Allen just chucks the ball like that. Good things can go their way.
Yeah. I want to go over a few things with you here. The Chiefs are in the bye. which means the best thing about a bye is that players are able to rest and get better who have been ailing. And I just want to go over a few of the injury concerns with you. And, as a reminder to fans who are listening, watching, whatever, about where the Chiefs are at with some of these as they come out, and maybe get some of your thoughts on them too. Coming out of the bye week, probably the biggest injury concern coming out of the bye week was at the linebacker core where Nick Bolton was already out a couple months. Willie Gay Jr. had been dealing with a lower back or tailbone injury. He was officially questionable. But now that he's had like a half month to sit, or at least, not get hit by other players, whatever. Are you feeling pretty good about him coming back, being ready? He was already playing.
Yeah.
Worried about linebacker at all, or do you feel like that's like a good thing?
No, I'm not worried about linebacker at all, man. They're deep, they're talented. Willie Gay Jr. is having his best season as a Kansas City Chief. The contract year is undefeated. Yeah. I went into this year saying, if he doesn't show out, he's gone, because the Chiefs, with what they gave Drew Tranquill, give him another year. Maybe you keep Drew Tranquill coming. Yeah, Willie Gay Jr. is younger, but at some point you're not talking about potential anymore. And Willie Gay Jr. has shown it's not just potential anymore. He's there. It's been very impressive to see. No, I am not concerned at all with the Chiefs linebackers. And they're going to, because you're probably going to put a spy on Jalen Hurts. I mean, I don't know if you listened to the Monday Night Football game last night with Manning Cast, and Holmes was on it talking about how now the Broncos will put a spy on him. How it's a little different now. The Chiefs are probably going to put a spy on Jalen Hurts.
Sure. That'd be the best way to play them. Joshua Clayton agrees with you. He says, no worries at linebacker. They are deep as hell. Yeah, and that, we're talking about them without Nick Bolton, by the way. Hey, Jerick McKinnon is a name. Look, that guy, Jerick hasn't played much at all. Now, that should be much of a surprise, because coming into the year, I think we knew Jerick is primarily a weapon for down the stretch and in the postseason. That's when all these sort of scat backs come alive. Like Damian Williams had 10 touchdowns in a single postseason, right? So a guy like Jerick is going to become dangerous in that moment when the Chiefs are looking for ultimate versatility in that way. But I didn't think he played this sparingly. And the backfield has been pretty uninspired. I like Pacheco, but I don't like anything after Pacheco, for that matter. And McKinnon's been healthy, but not playing. Although he had a groin injury coming out of the bye. Do you think we're going to see more of him? Just what's your take on McKinnon in the backfield coming into out of the bye week?
Yeah, I think we will see more of Jerick McKinnon. You're starting to see the stretch run potentially, right? The tougher games are coming up on the schedule. You're getting into the second half of the season. You're going to try and get warmed up and ready for the playoffs. Again, I'm not saying you're going to see him 12 carries. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you're going to see him, I think, a little more involved on the field. I like Pacheco, and Pacheco's actually been a little better at pass protecting, at least in some of the eye tests I have seen. I haven't looked up all the numbers as pass protection, but as far as the eye test goes, he's picked up a few that I'm going, oh wow, that was not going to happen last year. That year, that's a sack, or last year's a sack. This year, maybe he's been there with McKinnon. McKinnon has kind of showed him the way. But again, I don't know if I want Pacheco to be a 3-down back. So I do think we will see more McKinnon as the season goes on, starting right now after the bye.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Here's the other one. Here's the most complex situation. Richie James. Look, I'm talking to the right person here. I'm talking to the president of the Richie James fan club, right? Richie James signs with the Chiefs, 1-year deal. Looks like a nice flyer taken by the team. He enjoyed a breakout campaign last year under Brian Dable when some injuries happened with Dan Jones as his quarterback. The Chiefs sign him. He looks like he may be a return option. He only plays 2 games. Then goes out and is on injured reserve. On November 1, the Chiefs add him back to the practice, bring him back to practice. Now, they do not, at that point, this is like reviewing the rules here. For listeners, when the Chiefs added Richie James back on Wednesday, November 1, they did not have to add him back to the roster. He's allowed just to practice and be with the team for 21 days. Which means that the 22nd coming up here in 8 days, is the official day that the Chiefs have to decide whether they're going to activate him to the roster or end his season prematurely and leave him on IR. That's even what they can do, even if he's like actually fully healthy and they just don't want him on the roster. Coming into this, you were pretty fired up about Richie James. Half a season later, he's now healthy and ready to practice. What do you think the Chiefs are going to do there? What do you hope to see happen?
Yeah, and what's interesting, the Chiefs actually have a open roster spot right now, so they could actually activate him right now and wouldn't have to take someone off. You're good. I'm a little interested by this because I thought his separation ability and right now his ability to be great in that 6 to 10 yard area, the underneath routes, would thrive because that's what teams are giving the Kansas City Chiefs right now. The issue is these current wide receivers can't get open in this current route tree. That's what Richie James thrived at. Also, that Richie James can play on the outside. The Chiefs have so many slot guys. Richie James actually brings something different to the table. I know at first glance you see, okay, smaller wide receiver, undersized, kind of a special teams wide receiver, if you will. But I see something different. I see a guy who gets separation, a guy who can play on the outside, and who thrives in the underneath routes. I'm a little perplexed by this because, quite frankly, I thought we were going to see him before the injury, and we didn't. I was there at training camp, and he looked like the best wide receiver out there on the field. You saw all these other media members talking about, yeah, Richie James has been really impressive. He looks the part, and then nothing. I don't know with the return of McCole Hardman if that's kind of the block, if you will, but it shouldn't be because again, I do think Richie James has a different skill set if you look a little deeper here. I hope he gets an opportunity. I think he's good enough to make a difference. Again, I'm not saying he's a wide receiver one, but I think he's good enough to make a difference. And I hope we see him activated before the 22nd.
That would be interesting to me to see him in there. Justin Ross is now gone. So, obviously the room isn't as crowded as it was. Although they traded for Hardman and then, we'll see how it shakes out. Sterling, I did want to bring up one more thing here. Looking at the second half of the season, there are a few guys, and I want to see if you agree or disagree with me on some of these. Maybe you even have some of your own. There are some guys I think deserve more playing time in the second half of the season for one reason or another. And I want to start right where we're talking about. To me, look, Andy Reid said yesterday about Kadarius Toney that they're just trying to keep him healthy. He's playing a handful of snaps a game, whatever, like kind of bringing him along, almost treating him like the Hope Diamond or something. Like you're touring with museum artifacts and you're just trying to keep this sculpture from falling over from city to city to city on this tour. I realize that you want Kadarius Toney to be fully ready at the Super Bowl, and then you can work backwards from there. But honestly, it's also crippling their chemistry. It's crippling the timing. He came into the season without any timing. He missed the whole preseason, and then he's dropping passes left and right. That was the entire difference in the Detroit game, by the way. The Chiefs would be 8-1 if Toney had any chemistry or timing whatsoever. Now, I say all this to say, to me, and I've said this before, the single most dynamic weapon on the Chiefs, the most explosive player, the one guy who makes other defensive coordinators go, when he's on the field, we got to factor for that guy, is Kadarius Toney. I mean, I know that Travis Kelce has all that, but I mean, Kadarius can take one to the house at any given time. And we've also seen him fight for those extra tough yards. Every time he gets it seems like he picks up 3 to 5 more because he plays tougher and bigger than what he is. I'm dying to see him rise up and take it. If he gets injured along the way, so be it. But I'm ready for them to remove the kid gloves and go, hey, you're a professional athlete. We're playing professional athletic games. Professional athletic games. What does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, look, if you're on the roster and you're healthy, get out there. Get out there because you know who's out there now? A bunch of schlubs who aren't getting it done. like to me, take off the kid gloves already. Do you agree or disagree?
100% agree. And before I dive deeper into my thoughts here, do you know the saying "kid gloves" where it originated?
I don't.
Yeah, so kid gloves, they're not like gloves for kids. It's gloves made out of kids, like not babies, but like, the animal, like a kid, like a baby lamb. Um, that's what they're made out of. You have to take care of them. So when you take care of kid gloves, and you're using kid gloves on them, you got to take care of them because they're a little fragile. You got to make sure that they stay safe. Look it up; it's a real thing, guys. We're trying to teach on this show too. It's not just Chiefs. We also give some background here. It's baby goat. Thank you, not lamb. Baby goat.
Yeah,
appreciate you, Phantom.
I see what you did there. Sorry.
But back to Kadarius Toney, man, I'm with you because they're acting like he is Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson coming off of these injuries. Like he's this wide receiver one that's worth $30+ million. And you got to baby him along. You got to take care and make sure he's not injured. And I'm sitting here just going, he's not though. He's never been a wide receiver one. Quite frankly, he's never been a wide receiver two. Like he's been a guy who's been potential, again, as we go back to the word potential. But what has he done? We haven't seen it. We've seen no consistency. We've not seen him have the ability to have the route tree down with Mahomes. We've seen him drop balls. I don't understand this. If he is that injured, why is he out there? And if he's not injured, why is he not playing more than 6 snaps? If you think that 7th snap, that's going to be the one that injures him, not the slant route that he makes a great move on, makes 3 dudes miss in small spaces while dragging another guy along for 5 yards. Like, I'm perplexed by this. Either use him or don't.
Yeah. Yeah. This whole coaching staff goes full Lord of the Rings on this. They look at him and say, my precious, like he's some ring that's going to disappear if they, that everyone's going to want to steal. I don't get it. I just don't get it. And the truth is, as much as we talk about the offense sputtering, he's that missing. I'm so determined. He is that missing link. He's that other playmaker that has yet to emerge. He's the other guy we're just not using. When you're bracketing Kelsey and challenging other guys to do anything, Toney makes everyone pay, right? I mean, he's like juked himself before and hurt his own ankle. He's that good. I'm trying not to put profanity into my tirade here, so I keep it measured. I want to stay measured, but yeah, I think Toney's natural ability is all world. And I don't understand why they're not unleashing it. They never got precious about Tyreek. They never got precious about, they don't have anyone else like that. This is what name another playmaker in Andy Reid's tenure with the Chiefs that matches what Kadarius Toney brings besides Tyreek Hill.
Jeremy Maclin.
Okay. Jamal Charles for sure.
Yeah. John Baldwin, that one catch.
I mean, if you make a list, Kadarius Toney has to be in the top 5, right?
As far as like most athletic, little
just the most natural
talent.
ability if he could take it to the house at any time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Toney's in that group. It's all you got right now. Get it out there. Anyway. Yeah. So another player I'm interested in seeing more of in the second half. I don't know what you'll think of this. I want to see Wanya Morris. I'm looking at these penalties. I'm just thinking, is the tackle play really going to be that much worse if you give Wanya Morris a chance to learn on the fly? Am I drunk? Am I drunk in thinking this?
Well, it can be both. It could be both. I mean, I'm typically both. I'm drunk, and I also think that.
Okay.
Where would you put him, left tackle or right tackle, though? And how would you have this break down? Because I think your best tackles are Jawan Taylor and Wanya Morris then, right?
Yeah, because you're not – look, we're committed to Jawan Taylor. We paid $80 million. We're not moving from him, and we're not moving him from his best spot. So, look, man, when I'm watching the Chiefs, I don't see anything overly special about Donovan Smith. I see a couple frustrating penalties. I see largely getting the job done in pass protection. And that's what I get. And I don't know what Wanye Morris is capable of, but I believe he's capable of good things. And I think playing next to Joe Tooney would make him capable of better things. And I think Andy Heck is a good coach who would make him even better than that. And I think Patrick Mahomes makes everyone look good. So, at the very least, what I want is to head into the next offseason knowing, is Wanye Morris our swing tackle? Or do we got to go get yet another guy? Because look, we've already went to go get another guy in Orlando Brown. We went to go get another guy in Donovan Smith. We reached for Niang, and then that didn't turn out. We went for Wanye Morris. It didn't turn out. We had to sign Juwan Taylor to $80 million.
Well, I don't think you can say that Wanye Morris didn't turn out.
I'm saying if you evaluate him and he doesn't work,
sure,
and you got to go shopping again, we've been churning through tackles over and over and over and over here ever since Fisher and Schwartz both hit that injury wall and couldn't make it work anymore. It's not been a very consistent. We've either paid through the nose for mediocrity or we've taken some gambles and we're not sure even at present how they're going to work out. And I'm saying it's possible that you put in a filler like Donovan Smith, who may not be that much better than Wanye Morris. And I'm saying, why not put in Wanye Morris to at least get some feel for how his consistent performance would be so that you can then know what you're talking about or doing in the offseason. To head into the offseason with zero idea of how projectable he's going to be as a starter feels a little bit irresponsible to me when all you're doing is trading out Donovan Smith. It's not worth it for me.
Well, you're not going to mortgage this year for the potential future of Wanye Morris. Like you're not going to hinder this team. And I get what you're saying.
I don't think it has to be all or nothing like that.
And would I like to see Wanye Morris at time? Like if it's a blowout, yeah, 100%. I like Wanye Morris. I mean, I believe when we did the NFL draft and our initial reaction, I said that was my favorite pick. That was my favorite pick. I'm all in on Wanye Morris. I've told you that from both of his stops in college, from playing left tackle, playing right tackle. I love the pick. But I'm fine with where the Chiefs at this year. I am 100% okay with the Chiefs sticking with the known. The known is you can win with Donovan Smith. Is he good? Not really. He's fine. He's the Andrew Wiley, but on the left side with more penalties and maybe a little better in pass protection. That's what Donovan Smith is at this point in his career. He's always been a guy who gets a lot of penalties. I said that from the get-go. I said, this is who he is. He's a penalty guy. But is he going to be good enough for the $7 million for all the money you saved and you're able to use elsewhere? Yeah, I think he is. Again, by saying the Chiefs have no idea who Wanye Morris is unless he plays, I think it's a little bit drastic in my personal opinion. They see him every single day. They see him at every single practice. And while practice is not the actual game, obviously, I still think they have a pretty good understanding. When you're 7-2 and the offensive line has been pretty darn good, right? It's not been great this year. Let's be real. It's not been the best, but it's been pretty good still, right? It's not the Detroit Lions, but it's been good. I don't know if you mess with good to try and get slightly better than good. I don't think you mess with it.
I think I do, and I think here's my issue. That line's only going to get more. Look, that offensive line's only going to get more expensive, right? Joe Tooney's price is only going to go further up. Creed Humphrey's going to need an extension soon, or Trey Smith, or both. They're on the same exact timeline. Juwan Taylor's now $80 million. Donovan Smith signed a mid-range deal, but if you're going to have to replace him with a veteran next year or another high-end rookie, it's just only going to get more pricey. Wanye Morris is cost-controlled, cheap, third-round guy. If you can get that guy in a starting role, that becomes very, very important. But so all I'm saying is, so if I look at the schedule and I see the Raiders are visiting Arrowhead, I'm looking at Wanye and I'm like, hey, you get a start today. You get a start today to figure this thing out. We're going to see how it's also good for even developing depth at swing tackle to see what you have. You could make the same case for playing Winogo there. That's fine with me, whatever it is. because he's also cheap, cost control, whatever. I'm just not enamored with Smith. He's obviously a rental, and in a game where you're going to win it anyway. I say,
Come on, come
game
on. They lost to the Broncos, and we said they're going to win that game anyways. You can't do that in the NFL.
Well, if he's a dumpster fire, you could put Donovan Smith back in. I mean, it's not
Sure. Again, I don't disagree with you necessarily because I love Wanye Morris. And again, that was my favorite draft pick. I'm all in on him. And I think he is a tackle of the future, whether it's left or right. I'm still a little perplexed on the plan with Juwan Taylor. That to me will go down as just a head scratcher. I understand he's been really good at right tackle since the penalties have stopped. I get all that stuff. That's just so much money. I understand the thought process of, well, they face the same guys left and right in today's NFL. Yeah, but the rest of the market is not caught up there yet. So now you're the one basically setting the market, reset the market for everyone else. That was
you never want to set the market.
It was
you
a little
never want to set the market.
Confusing to me, but again, it's a sunk cost. What's done is done. I don't know if he's going to move over to the left or he's going to stay at right. I like Wanye Morris, but I also don't want to mess with something that's a good thing in search of something better when you don't know for sure. This is what the offseason's for. He's a rookie. I'm not giving up on him. I mean, let's be real now. A lot of offensive linemen, whether even drafted top 10, they struggled the first year. Was it Andrew Thomas for the Giants was atrocious his rookie year.
Sure.
And now he's one of the best in the NFL, right? Like, it's just a little different. And you could make the case that was that him playing through the struggles? Was that him learning? Well, you can also learn when you play for the Giants. They're not trying to go for a Super Bowl. You know, the Chiefs are trying right now. So it's a little different situation they're in, right, compared to some of these other bad teams that can afford to let their young offensive linemen grow. I like Wanye Morris a lot. I just think I'm going to disagree with you all that he needs PT this year. Barring a blowout. Barring blowout in a game.
Sure. Is there anyone on the roster that you think deserves more playing time?
I've said Richie James, but that first means he has to actually make the roster. Maybe Noah Gray, a little more 12 personnel potentially. Sure. Because, again, defense has been outstanding. I don't want to mess with anything defensively. I don't want to mess with anything defensively. Offense, again, I mentioned it. The offensive line's been okay. Wide receiver, we've talked about. You want to see more Kadarius Toney. I want to see a little bit more Richie James, Rashee Rice. But Rashee Rice's snap count started to go up, so I think we're starting to see our wish. That seems like a cop-out answer. So I'm going to go with Noah Gray, a little more 12 personnel. The Chiefs have been effective in 12 and even 13 personnel at times this season. I like him much better than Blake Bell. And I do think Noah Gray is going to stick around a while, whether it's with Kansas City or another team, whether he's not a starter or not, that remains to be seen. He's a good backup. Like, he's a good guy. You can go out there. He's a good route runner, a little undersized, not the most athletic as far as, a little undersized with a speed combo, but he gets open. Like, he's a good receiver, good hands. I would like to see a little more Noah Gray.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the 12 personnel allows the Chiefs to do some things offensively, creating some mismatches that we've had a real problem with. The Chiefs have had a real problem creating any mismatches this year, or let's say many mismatches this year. Yeah. Hey, folks, if you're in the comments, are there players that you would like to see earn more playing time in the second half? Going to Josh Clayton here. He says, Connor needs more time. I'm pretty sure he's not talking about me. I think he's talking about Connor, Shamari. By the way, I deserve more playing time too.
You do.
I do. Yeah, I kind of agree about Shamari Connor, by the way, because look, man, L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, can you sign him? He's going to make, if Charvarius Ward made whatever he made on the open market, what, 7, was it like a
14 mil? I think it's 3 for 42, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I feel like Sneed has to top that. And, can the Chiefs afford to pay that? To go without Sneed is to lose a major chess piece. And Shamari Connor had those sort of comps: versatility, toughness, great tackler, willing to play up in the box, ability to also be in coverage as well. And yet he hasn't played enough to really know, can he, Sneed played every snap from week one. He's a week one starter because the Chiefs were ultra thin at corner when he first arrived. Now that he's leaving, it's like, well, we hope we got the guy But if you don't and you lose him and Connor's not up to the task, you're missing a major chess piece. I would, for the same reason I said I would play Wanya Morris more. I think it'd be nice to slip in a few more snaps for Connor to see kind of how Spags could use him in the future.
Yeah, again, if it's a blowout, I'm all for it. I think you and I, again, differ a little philosophically there. You're more future focused, I think, and not in a bad way. I think you're trying to say the same thing. And I'm not saying I don't want to see that, but I guess for me, I just don't like taking chances. I'm more or less saying, all right, I get that. These are future players. We hope and believe Shamari Conner can be part of the future, but you have to hope and believe that and hope that what you see in practice, what you see in training camp, OTA, the preseason will be enough for now. I'm not saying I don't want to see him at all, especially as a defensive back. You have a better opportunity of getting into games, obviously, than an offensive lineman, but I'm just more worried on this season. But yeah, I'm with you. The only difference between him and L'Jarius Sneed kind of made the change from safety to corner because he ran a 4.37, whilst Shamari Conner, I believe, ran a 4.6, something around there. That's the biggest difference, where Shamari Conner is not going to have the same speed as a L'Jarius Sneed, although the versatility chess piece aspect, I think, is very similar. I don't know what he's going to receive on the open market, L'Jarius Sneed. I wonder, because I think he's more talented as far as his versatility than Charvarius Ward. The issue is Charvarius Ward only plays on the outside, and that's more valuable in the NFL, like as far as what contracts go for. If you play in the slot, you're getting less. Versatility sometimes actually can hurt, and when it comes to negotiations, right? And I think it might actually hurt L'Jarius Sneed, the fact he plays inside out, because folks are going to say, yeah, well, you played this many amount of snaps on the inside at slot. That means you're not a straight outside lockdown CB1. This is what we're going to offer you then. So maybe
that plays in the Chiefs' favor.
It does. I think it does. I've been saying that for a while now. Because I don't know if it's an effort that the Chiefs are making to try and do that, but I think it's a smart one if they are.
Yeah. I think at the very least, Connor fills in for Mike Edwards, who's been a great signing, but he was a 1-year signing. Connor could easily slide into that third safety role and feature Reed in his final year with Cook and Connor going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have by the way, we got a few more entries over here of what people want to see. One commenter said they want to see old Patrick Mahomes. I would like to see old Mahomes as Flapjack City. Yeah, that's pretty funny, actually. I think we'd all love to see some of that. Tom Hood says, I'd love to see more Pacheco and McKinnon. A stronger run emphasis. I think you're not alone on that. I think a lot of fans would like to see just a little bit more balance if it's going to allow the Chiefs to, maybe move the chains a little bit better or more consistently there. Greg Spence says more Rice getting the ball where he can get yards after catch. I think we're trending in that direction. Sterling, you just mentioned that earlier. So yeah. And then Matt better dress up as Santa for the KC Christmas game. I can do that.
Yes.
Kringle?
Can you do that, please? Like, actually? Like, will you like dye your beard?
Let me check with the missus.
It'd be luxurious. Well, then you could call her Mrs. Claus. I mean, come on now. You drop that line on her and you're telling me she's not all in? She'll be all in, Connor. Everyone listening right now, just a quick reminder that Arrowhead Addict is running a deposit match promotion up to $100 for any new Sleeper Daily Fantasy user. Make sure to use our code FANSIDED2 when signing up to receive your deposit match. Please remember to always game responsibly. Scan the QR code on screen to see if you qualify. Again, FANSIDED number 2.
Sterling, we're almost to the end of the show here. We're going to be breaking down the Eagles and Chiefs for the rest of the week, but you and I won't be together doing this the rest of the week like this. So I just want to get your early Eagles thoughts. We talked about it just a little bit earlier, but are you thinking this is an easy Chiefs win, a difficult Chiefs win, a Chiefs loss? What's your take this early in the week?
I think it's a very difficult Chiefs win. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. Again, you saw the Chiefs lock up Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I think the Chiefs will, again, to an extent, lock up A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I'm not saying you hold them to, 50 yards receiving apiece or 50 yards total, but I'm saying I think they're going to keep them well below their season averages. I think the Chiefs defense is absolutely elite. I think it's electric. I think it's legitimately good. I've gone through so many numbers so many different times, so I don't want to do that whole spiel again. But all the numbers actually point to the Chiefs defense getting better, okay? Because they don't force a lot of turnovers, and they're actually only average in the red zone. They're only average in the red zone. If they were good in the red zone, they would have the best defense in the NFL scoring-wise by far. They've been great, and I think they will actually slow down the Eagles' offense. The issue is the Chiefs don't really have the ability to take advantage of the Eagles' weakness. So that being said, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think the Chiefs come out on top. I think it's back and forth the entire way.
I don't know what I think yet. Is that weird? Am I taking a way out here?
Yeah, that fence sitting is pretty. It probably hurts you, quite frankly.
But I look so good. I'm like a cat. I'm like a cat on the fence, just laying there. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. I really don't know. I kind of think this could be a loss for the Chiefs. I don't think that they have.
Boo.
I know.
Boo.
Every team right now is playing with some obvious weakness. That includes the Chiefs. That includes the Eagles. The two best teams in the game look a little more mortal than normal. And then you and I opened the show looking at contenders that we thought were going to be something, and they're looking far more mortal than anyone thought, right? I mean,
one last thought on those, the beginning opening segment to kind of just tie a bow on it in regards to the contenders that are following. The reason why I started this was not necessarily the Bengals, but more so with the Bills, okay? Because the Bills the last year was supposed to be their year, right? The Bills year, everyone kept saying the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. I kind of bought into being them like, all right, they might be the best team in the AFC. And then this year it was like, all right, well, now Von Miller's healthy and Josh Allen's now, Brian Dable's been gone enough now. Maybe Josh Allen will revert back to his he's healthy now too with the elbow injury. The turnovers will drop down. But I'm sitting here thinking, all right, Josh Allen's contract's about to take a huge step forward. Stephon Diggs continuously has this somewhat of an unrest situation going on. Gabe Davis, isn't he about to be a free agent? You look at the defensive side of the ball, Tre'Davious White's been injured and frankly just not good ever since he came back from injury, and he's getting older. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer have been both injured and getting older as well. Obviously, Von Miller is ancient and been a nothing burger. Matt Milano, I think, is really, really freaking good, but he's been injured this year as well. I mean, you're sitting around looking here going, the Bills don't do anything this year, and quite frankly, I don't think they will. They have just as high a chance of making the playoffs as missing it. Where do they go? Do they blow it up? And by the way, we've seen the Chiefs win with Mahomes on a rookie deal and with him not on a rookie deal.
Yes.
You look at the Bills and the Bengals. They have not won on a rookie or non-rookie deal. Now they're getting into the hard part of their contract situation. You look at the Bengals, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, contracts coming up. They already had to get rid of both of their safeties last year, right? Some pretty big name safeties with Jesse Bates and who went to the Panthers. But whatever it was, they're losing a lot of veteran talent because they're having to try and keep this thing together. And they have still yet to win. And then again, you go back to Kansas City, and what do you see? The Chiefs have done it without Tyreek Hill. Josh Allen so far has not done it with Stephon Diggs. You look around at the Bengals. Joe Burrow's not done it with Jamar, with T, or with Tyler. But guess what? Doesn't matter. The Chiefs have done it without that. And that's what makes it so impressive, what we're living in, what we're watching, what we're witnessing right now. The Chiefs, as I mentioned again, the second youngest snap-based age on the defensive side of the ball, the youngest in the NFL. It's crazy. They're still this good, that young. There's no reversion. But you look at these other two teams, they're getting older. Chiefs still looking good now and for the future. Other two teams, they are not.
If you're looking for a long-term reason to love the Houston Texans, it's that one.
Yes.
It's that C.J. Stroud is going to be cheap as hell. I mean, at least relatively compared to his position for the next 3-4 years before, they're not going to wait till year 5 to sign him. They'll sign him early to an extension to keep him happy and to get that done, whatever. But they're already this good and they're going to be able to spend some money too. Folks, we've gotten to the end of the show. So I'd love to bring in Richard.
Hey guys, nice to see you.
Yeah, looking baller in the autumn baller. How are y'all doing, man? Richard, you look good, man. Good to
Doing
see you.
swell, thank you. You're looking good as well. Looking like a young Kris Kringle over there.
How about that? I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that. All these like Santa.
I'm on the
calls.
side of getting you to dress up like Santa. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man, I need like a good break from the show then, if this is going to be a regular thing, or just to do it and like get stuck in a chimney somewhere. Let's be honest, folks. If you're with us, welcome to the end of the show. Every time we make our way through the must list, which is our rundown of things we recommend to you, something we've seen, heard, smelled, tasted, taken in, whatever it is. Richard, first of all, what's on your shirt?
It's a Dorian Electra. It's a hyper pop artist. I'm sure neither of you have heard of them. So that's
What is
fair.
a hyper pop?
I haven't even heard the genre.
It's like 100 Gex maybe that's a little more popular. It's just pop music taken to an almost extreme, an ironic extreme.
Is it like when
yeah.
people listen to podcasts like at 2 speed? Is it like that?
Actually, I was gonna you're probably right. It's higher BPM, and a lot of the artists tweak their vocals to be like chipmunk sounding. It's very stupid, but you know how my brain is. It latched onto it. It latched onto that genre, and I haven't been able to let go of it. So yeah, that's
if I could spend 1 week in Richard's dome, that would be the scariest, most outstandingly fun week of all time.
It's all 2D. It looks like a cartoon. It's sick. It's like Cool World.
2D. She was on the Facts of Life, right?
Indeed.
2D and Blanche. And Blair.
Blanche Devereaux. That's from
Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Dude.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a Golden Girl, who would you be?
Okay, so I'm going to go with my pick of the week. My must list is Shooting Star, the band Shooting Star. Kansas City, Missouri local. Yeah, guys. Don't shake your head at me, okay? We're going with Shooting Star. We're off of our Blanche Devereaux, and that's who I'd be, is Blanche Devereaux. Shooting Star is awesome.
You're pretty saucy. I'm sorry. I'm way more interested in your Golden Girl. But please tell me more about Shooting Star. Richard, we're off the rails. I'm sorry to anyone who's hanging out.
I'm cutting this whole part out of the podcast. If you're hearing this right now, you can't because it's gone.
I'm Dorothy, by the way. I would be Dorothy all day. Just like like
Richard.
My pick of the week. Let's just move this along. I'm a month late. It's not even spooky season, but I just finished the Fall of the House of Usher. It's that new Mike Flanagan miniseries on Netflix. It's the guy who did like Midnight Mass and Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor and all those. It's good, yeah. It's all loosely based on a bunch of Edgar Allan Poe short stories and poems. Very fun. It's less scary and it's just more entertaining and cathartic to watch a bunch of rich people die, because that's what it is. It's Succession, but if each episode ended with another family member just meeting a brutal end for being an immoral person. Let's just say that first. I'm not rooting for the deaths of people, but like they're bad, really bad people. So each episode ends, you're just like, goodbye. So yeah, check out the Fall of House of Usher if you just want to watch rich assholes meet a brutal end.
Do they sing their confessions before? Like, this is my confession?
I know, but it'd make an interesting show.
Or like Burn or...
Dude.
Do you get what I'm saying here? I'm singing Ursher right now.
Did you just say Ursher?
Yeah, that's how he sings himself. He always goes, "It's Ursher, baby."
Ursher.
I'm lost.
I'm not a player. I just ush a lot. All right. The must list. Yeah, I'm recommending Golden Girls, which is an 80s show about 4 saucy ladies who live together. Sterling, if you like Sterling, he would be named Rose, or Betty White. I am Dorothy, who is the sarcastic old woman with a smoker's voice.
I want to be Blanche.
And then Richard is our Blanche.
Hell yeah.
Saucy. Blanche ropes him in, man. I don't get it. And then there's Estelle Getty, the oldest one, who was actually younger than all of them, I think, but she played like the mom. Anyway, I love Golden Girls. Did you guys watch Golden Girls? Ever?
It's a fun show. I put it on every once in a while. It's on Hulu.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's chill. It's super chill. I never thought it'd be a good show, and I just put it on. Just like Frasier. I put on Frasier once, and I was like, oh, this show isn't as stupid as I thought it would be. It's very smart and funny.
Dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's that one. Out on the street. That's where with me. Folks, you've been listening to Rat, Golden Girls, Sterling, Richard, and myself. Not sure why you're hanging out with us, but we always, honestly, always appreciate the fact that you do. This week, we will talk way more Chiefs and a lot less cultural nonsense. Folks, it's a bye week. It's a bye week, and we're just trying here. But on behalf of all Chiefs Kingdom, we apologize. And hopefully we'll be back with you talking about how much a Chiefs young defense smothered Jalen Hurts. And then I'll sing some REM. Everybody hurts. All right. Anyway, yeah, we'll see you next week. I'm sorry.